Well, hello, friends. Welcome to another episode. I'm very happy to have you here today, and I am equally happy to have my guest on today. His name is David Leach, and he's from the Strident Conservative, and we've got lots to talk about right after this. All right, guys, welcome to the show. David, thank you for coming on. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, when you so for those who don't know, I had put out a little post on the Facebook about looking for some guests and seeing if anybody wanted to come on, and David was gracious enough to say, "Yeah, come on, sure, why not?" Oh, so
Well,
we've got lots to talk. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to walk on you there. There's so few people want to listen to me these days. I figured I'd take the opportunity for it.
Well, you know what, David, it's not just you. Nobody wants to listen to anybody anymore, right?
Yeah, that's
People
true. That's
just
very
want
true.
to talk at each other and not listen. And so I find you very, very intriguing. I was perusing your website, which is the stridentconservative.com, and you should definitely go check it out. And there's some things that are, well, there's a lot of things that are interesting, but one, your knowledge base is pretty incredible. So
Oh,
I'd
thank you.
love
Thank you.
thank you. You're so welcome. So let's start there. So for anybody who doesn't know yet, your website, you and your page on Facebook covers a wide variety of topics: religion, politics, the Constitution, you name it. You're covering it, and you're not just throwing some opinions out there like most of us are doing. You really have a lot of knowledge and information and facts to back up the things that you're saying. So where did all of this come from? Have you always had this interest and involvement with big topics here?
Wow, that's a big question. I guess the best way to answer that would be to kind of tell you how it actually got started. Um, Mid 2000s, I've always been very interested in politics and trying to keep up on what's going on in the world and what's going on in America. And I attended this conference. I won't go into too much detail about it, but there was this one segment of this conference where we were instructed. It was a Christian conference, and it was a conference where we were instructed to go out with some quiet time and ask God what name He had for us. This was after a session where we were taught about how life and the devil and other people will give us all kinds of names that really aren't us. That who are we really? And it was using the scripture in the book of Revelation about each one of us will be given a stone, and on that stone is a name, and only that person and God knows that name. So I went out for my time, and I'd read a book by the person giving the conference, and I went out wanting to hear that I was like William Wallace or from Braveheart or something like that. And I was given a name, and I was a little bit disappointed because it wasn't really what I thought. In fact, I really thought I didn't hear from God at all. Well, several weeks later, my wife and I, we had kind of a routine. We both work from home. And we kind of had a routine where I would go to the Starbucks, grab a coffee, and bring it back and peruse the paper and, and just kind of get my day started. And I was reading a headline, and I did one of my typical, yeah, right, that's not true. And my wife is right there in the room. She's at her desk, and she goes, okay, what is it? And, so I said, well, I read her the story, and she says, okay, so what's that mean? And so I give her my impression or my interpretation of what those events will really mean eventually. And she says, you should probably be on the radio. And I said, well, there's lots of people on the radio. There's Rush Limbaugh was still alive then. So there's Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck and all these people that have radio shows, and who would want to listen to me? And she goes, but you're a voice in the wilderness. And that's when I broke down crying because the name God gave me
Mm.
at that conference was John the Baptist of all names.
Whoa, come on,
And
really?
so I use that kind of as my launching pad. So I launched my website at that point. My very first article was on a topic of gay marriage. Our now governor, back then he was just a local politician, but Jared Polis had made a statement about the issue that I didn't agree with, and so basically I said the name of the article was "I pronounce you man and dog," because I figured if I should be able to marry anyone I want to marry my dog.
Mhm.
I love him.
Who wouldn't? Dogs are awesome.
Exactly. So that was kind of how it all got started, but it's kind of grown into I did a lot of the politics stuff first, Republican versus Democrat, that kind of thing.
Sure.
But over the years, I've learned that really that's a distraction. That both parties are really kind of one party. They both run the same machine. It's just whether
Mm.
there's going to be an R at the top or a D at the top at any given time. But they're all still working together, and they're not really doing things to protect liberty and to protect the Constitution and to protect our freedoms. And so I've kind of evolved over the past, I'd say 5, 6 years, more into the subjects of kind of libertarian leaning. I'm not a libertarian, but
Mhm.
kind of a libertarian leaning towards, it's like, hey, uh, like for example, my article today on the Strident conservatives about how 9/11 ended up costing us a lot of our liberty.
Mhm.
I don't get a lot of great feedback from that. People are saying I'm insensitive about the people who died and stuff like that. And I'm very empathetic, and my heart goes out to here we are decades later, and and it's still very painful to remember that day.
It is.
But we we lost a lot more than a few lives on 9/11.
Yeah.
With the Patriot Act and how that eventually evolved into all kinds of other things.
Mhm.
Um, I think we fell victim to what Benjamin Franklin once warned us about. He says, those who would say, actually, it's debatable as whether or not he really said it, but it's credited to him that those who
Yeah.
would sacrifice a little safety or a little liberty for a little safety deserve neither. And I've
Mm.
often paraphrased that to say those who would sacrifice a little liberty for a little safety will get neither. You won't get safety and you won't get liberty. And that's kind of where I think we are today.
I don't disagree with you at all on that. But the funny thing is, I absolutely understand why you get backlash because we're in such a reactive, kind of thoughtless society now where we
Mhm.
react to everything emotionally and we don't think about what we're hearing or reading and really taking time to sit with it. And, so everything is based on feelings and not fact, right? We're in the feelings,
Mhm.
not fact
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
And you hit people with a lot of facts, and I have no doubt that they bristle. And as a matter of fact, I was kind of glancing through your Facebook page in the comments section, and I was like, oh yeah, he's hearing from them.
Yeah.
And I would imagine one of the biggest groups that you hear from is probably not necessarily the liberals, but the Trump supporters. Do you get a lot of like the fanatical Trump
Yeah.
fans?
Yeah. I do hear a lot from Trump
Mhm.
people.
And I say that, I'm sorry, I should preface that for everybody. I say that because you're not a Trump fan.
I
You're not
never
following.
have been, never have
Yeah.
been. Yeah, a lot of people have always kind of criticized me as becoming never Trump after the fact. But if you go back to my articles, I wrote a lot of articles during the primaries leading up to the 2016 election. And I laid out my case very clearly why he would be a
Mhm.
very bad leader for the country. At the time, I was kind of a Ted Cruz fan, but that ended up being a mistake too, unfortunately. But anyhow, I'm just saying though that yeah, I hear a lot from them. I'm called a rhino,
Mhm.
which that word doesn't really have the meaning it used to have. For that matter, I've had people tell me I should maybe change my name because the word conservative really doesn't have the meaning it used to have.
Mm.
I want to fight for conservatism. I'm going to keep it. I'll still be the striding conservative because It's our conservative principles. When you look at the word conservative, it has to do with conserving. And what is it that we want to conserve? Well, what I want to conserve is I want to conserve the Constitution. I want to conserve the principles that founded our country. I want to conserve liberty. I want to conserve freedom. And so, yeah, I'm going to stick with conservatism. Although, like I said, it's kind of watered down these days. It's being replaced by populism, which is very dangerous. America First populism is a big talking point of Donald Trump's and now the Republican Party. And we now have Republicans saying things like, well, maybe government should rein in big businesses because they really aren't looking out for the people. And it's like, if it's okay to say this, Tucker Carlson one time he appeared at a nationalist, National Conservatism Conference, the first one a couple of years ago. And he said, I'm paraphrasing it because I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but he said, government is no longer your enemy. The free enterprise system is. And it's like,
Wow.
oh my freaking gosh, what in the heck? Where did that come from? And that's a conservative Republican saying that. So, yeah, I kind of have to even watch being called a conservative. But I do hear a lot, back to our original point, I do hear a lot from Trumpists. I have fun with it, actually. It really doesn't bother me all that much.
If you're going to be doing this stuff, you have to have that thick skin, and you have
Oh
to,
yeah. I don't. My wife often comments. She says, "I don't know how you can take some of the things these people say about you." And it's like, well, they're actually kind of a badge of honor because people don't react that way unless you struck a chord. That's really the reason they do it. I mean, if truth is accepted one of two ways. George Orwell once said that. In fact, truth is either accepted as truth or it's going to be accepted as an attack. Again, that's a paraphrase, but and that's basically what it is. So all I try to do is always speak the truth. You mentioned, I appreciate you mentioning that I'm very well documented because I do a lot of research when I write an article, and so I do give an opinion sometimes, but I back that opinion with lots and lots of facts, and that's what I always try to do. And I just want to speak the truth, and the truth is, in this day and age, liberty is in serious, serious danger, and neither Republicans nor Democrats are really too concerned about that. All they really want to do is make sure that their party is in the White House next election. That's what everything they do, every talking point, every issue they claim to address is only for one purpose, and that's to try to win in 2024. And again, it's the same playbook. That's what it was in 2020. That's what it was in 2016. That's what it was in 20. I mean, it's the same thing over and over and over. And now, over time, and you were talking about how kids or how that we're kind of led by our feelings more now.
right.
Even that is part of the gradual evolving or evolution away from liberty in our public schools. I mean, kids aren't taught about the Constitution. They aren't taught about what was really at stake when America was founded. I mean, instead now we're being told that all these white European men who founded America were oppressors and they abused. It's like, come on, it's like,
It's so crazy, isn't it?
It's
so
it's
crazy,
a crazy
and
message, and yeah, it is. I'm sorry, I kind of got off on a tangent there.
No, that's okay. It's hard not to, isn't it? It's really hard not to because it's such a broad topic and it affects every facet in every area of our lives, of society. So it's huge, and and as far as the kids in school now, and that goes all the way up through college, probably maybe even especially college. We're our kids are being taught what to think, not how to think. And that's
Exactly.
very, very apparent. It's very clear. I mean, I don't really understand how anybody could argue that. It's obvious. It's very clear that they're just, they're really just puppets with, these ulterior motived people, making their mouths move, and all they speak in sound bites, and that's all that people look for these days. They don't look for deeper meaning. And I don't mean to generalize, because I don't think that's true of everyone. That's a faction of society that just want sound bites. They want what, just echoes what they're already thinking. not anything that contradicts it. And I think that's why what you're doing is really important. And I'm sure the more I look through your stuff, I might find stuff that I disagree with in there, and I think that's okay. I think you could probably beat me up with the facts, but, because I'll not be perfectly honest, and and I'm not calling myself a dummy or any of those things, but I call myself a baby Christian, and I call myself maybe, like, if you're the strident conservative, I guess maybe I'd call myself the casual conservative, because I'm not an authority on either of those things. I know where my heart leads me, and then I like to get all the facts to back up what my heart is already telling me.
Yeah.
And I just wish more people would do that, and even to the point where it's something you don't want to hear, that you don't like, because I think it's important to know, all of the facts. It's okay if you don't like them; they can make you feel bad, but you still need to know them, and that's a lost thing now. And I like that you stand your ground on it, and you don't back away from any of them. That's for sure.
I do my best to be that kind of person. I've even written
Mhm.
articles. I wrote an article recently. Actually, I reposted an article recently based about escaping the Washington matrix of the Republican and Democrat Party, and I used the Matrix movie for a lot of my proof. And
Mhm.
there's a scene in the third Matrix movie where it looks like Agent Smith has finally defeated Neo, and Neo gets back up, and then Smith is just confused. He's like, "Why do you keep doing this? What's your motivation? Is it love? Is it this, or is it that?" He lists all these kind of things, and Neo, with his last breath, just says, "Because I choose to." And I mean, and that's it. It's like, I don't care what the odds are. I don't care if it looks like you're about to beat me. I'm going to continue to choose to stand for freedom and liberty, and getting as many people out of the two-party matrix as I possibly can. I'm a big believer in the need for, I was going to say a third party, but we need a new second party, because the Republican Democrat Party is one party. So it's like we need a new party. We need new direction. We need to break up the matrix in Washington. We've got to destroy the machine world out there, and that's what I'm going to try to do as long as I have breath.
I love it. I love it. I love the passion. I will say, anybody who, is sitting there, mm, wanting to dispute this or argue this, I guess, that the things that you've just said, I would say, I would back you up and say that, listen, I think most of us can sit here and say, and I consider myself middle America, average American, middle class, if that even exists anymore. Um, so, and what I can say, and people that I've spoken to say, is all the same thing, which is nobody in charge is working for us. Nobody has our best interests at heart here, and is
You won't
actually
hear me disagree with
fighting.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that of course leads to, well, why do we keep voting the same people in over and over and over again? I mean, have we really forgotten that we're in charge? We are America. They work for us,
Yeah.
and that has been, really completely forgotten, or maybe not forgotten, but disregarded, and we've allowed it. And I don't,
Mhm.
you probably have more ideas of how to do that, how to make that happen. I don't, we say the same things over and over again. We'll vote different people in, get involved, do the things. I mean, are those the answers? What would you say, if there's an answer, what would you say?
Well, it's a monster. It's a big, big, big thing. It isn't just since 9/11 that it came into existence. It's just that 9/11 kind of really put it on steroids. But I mean, it's been going on for decades and decades. I mean, we had these. You read your history. I know that that's not something that a lot of people like to do anymore,
Can
but you
you
read your
find actual
history.
history?
We were, yeah, real live history, and we were having these same discussions when Eisenhower was president. I mean, there was the same battle going on then. He was trying to expand the Supreme Court so he could get a lot of socialist ideals. Uh,
Mm,
Basically, he couldn't get them done in Congress, so he was going to try to manipulate the court system, which is now what we have going on today again.
right.
So, to answer your question,